Hey guys, this is Crap Hunter, and welcome back to... I was going to say Rome for a second. World of Tanks. Woo! In this episode, we're going to be having a look at the SU-85. Whoa! Yes, the Russian beast of the Tier 5s. And, yeah, this thing is a very interesting tank. She's got her advantages and her disadvantages, and her style of play is different to that of the Germans, also of the Americans, but of course, I've yet to get a Tier 5 American tank destroyer, but I'm certain to compare them once I do, just to prove it. Anyhows, yeah, so let's get started. So here we go, 350 hit points. Now this is pretty much average for all the tank destroyers at Tier 5. You're looking, I mean, with this one included, I think the only differences in health point wise are the highest of the tier, with Tier 5 tank destroyer 82 having 450, so 100 more than you, with the lowest of them being the S-35CA having 20 less than you. But with a tank destroyer, any lack of health is always a nightmare. But no, with this tank destroyer, it's pretty much you're on the average spot there. I think the one thing I think at Tier 5, pretty much everyone has this almost kind of the same hit points in tank destroyer wise. Medium style tanks, not too sure. But anyway, I digress. So with that said, you weigh 29.48 tons. This is without equipment, by the way. Unfortunately, this thing doesn't show how much horsepower per ton, which is a major bitch. So I can't. I'm going to assume there's a fair amount, because your vehicle can get up to the speeds of 55 kilometers per hour. Now, this doesn't mean that on a flat surface, this could mean on a flat surface that you could get up to that, but you'd have to wait a while, because this thing doesn't have the greatest of acceleration when it comes to most forms of combat. It can get you up to 30, it can get you up to 35 to 40 and maybe even 45 relatively easy, but getting up to the extra top speeds, you're going to have to rely more on going downhill than doing anything else. One other thing which I find to be, for me personally, I find to be quite a disadvantage, but for other people it may not be so, is your traverse speed. It's only 35. Now, this isn't like a fatal flaw, if you will, to this tank destroyer. I mean, of course, it means you can't turn on a dime, so if someone tries to surprise you, you won't be able to react fast enough to it. Then, say, if we go to the tech tree and check out the Soviet Union, if you were in your previous tank destroyer, the SU-85B, you'll no doubt note that it has a much better chance of that, and I reckon even with the upgraded engine, that thing has a much better chance of yeah, with its tier 3 engine and everything, it has a much better traverse speed than you. So if you've been driving the SU-85B and then all of a sudden get into this, you'll notice the lack of traversing quite quickly on that one. 40. Now, going on to armor. Now, this thing, although isn't, I mean, obviously all tank destroyers have a subsequent lack of armor. This one isn't so good at the front. 45 to the front, 45 to the sides, and 40 to the rear. This thing isn't very well armored. Most shots will go through and penetrate it. I have had the occasional bounce, and there is sloping, but at tier 5 and tier 6 games, the likelihood of you surviving much contact is very low. The one small miracle is the fact that you might be engaging tier 4s and even worse, well, even better for you, tier 3s. But more likely is that you will be penned from the front side. So this thing isn't something you want to get into the middle of close quarters combat, that's for sure. It's I mean, the underglaciers as well is kind of quite a big weakness, but weirdly enough, I've never actually thought to shoot under there. I mean, normally I've just shot to the side. The gun mantlet has taken some hits for me in the past. I will be honest with you. The gun mantlet has taken hits and it has ricocheted off. That's the rare occurrences where it bounces. But that said, it doesn't really take much to damage this thing. You can shoot that. There's the commander's hatch there, which he can get shot pretty nastily. Yeah, generally speaking, most of this area will be damaged. Another thing which is something that you have to be aware about is your low gun. Although it doesn't really show it that much here, your gun is quite low to the ground on this one. I mean, in a sense, that is beneficial in some areas, but when it comes to, for example, going across a hill, like, for example, attacking an enemy hill and you're going up, not that you should be attacking, but I always find myself in that position anyhow, your tank will expose more of itself. You'd have to pretty much expose 2/3 of your tank before you can take a shot. So be ever aware of the fact that your gun is low to the ground, and that the fact that your tank isn't. It's one of those rare occurrences where you're a bit like an M. To be honest with you, I'll compare you to the M3 Lee. It's not as bad as the M3 Lee, but it's most certainly something you have to be aware about. So keep that in mind. Gun traverse speed, well, 44, good to know, but it's pointless because this has not got a turret. Now, here's the part where we come into the somewhat major disadvantage. This is probably the worst aspect of this tank. You only have 280 view range. Yeah, that's pretty bad. But that said, if we compare it to all the closed-up tank destroyers, because we all know that open-top tank destroyers automatically beat each other, quite simply because of the fact that they haven't got a turret at the top. The T-49, yeah, 350 on that one. So the T-49's a mixed bird because she has got an open-topped turret, but that said, she also has a closed-up turret. So whichever way. The 82, how much view range does that have? That has 310. The Stug has 310. And that's an open top, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, you're pretty much at the bottom of the list for closed top vehicles view range wise. Your radio, although I haven't upgraded it yet, because at the moment I'm just trying to focus on researching the top thing, is 525. Now that's not great. If we go compare the other radios from tank destroyers, the S-35 will go down the list. The S-35CA has a tier 7, which is 455, so you beat the French, which is good. The Germans, of course, have the advantage in radio with a tier 8. This one has 550, the Fug 8, which is quite cool. But one thing you will be reassured of is the Fug 7 being a tier 6 radio. Although the Fug 7 is a very good radio, it's not good enough to beat your radio, which is only at 415. So that's something to be a little positive about. The British, of course, have their famous tier 8 radios being at 550, so 25 better than you. The Americans, well, the T-49 has a tier 10 radio, which is freaking terrifying, but of course you have to spend a lot of time and energy getting the tier 10 radio, so they may not. And the American Wolverines have the lovely 615 radio range for tier 9 radio, so they kind of beat you there. So although you're not as bad with the radio range, thanks to the fact that a fair amount of the other tanks will not be as good, your view range certainly will fail you. If you rely more on your view range than anything else, then that is a bad thing. Very bad. So definitely don't rely on your view range. So, now we come on to probably one of my favourite aspects of any review, the guns. And you get an interesting selection. And if you're wondering if you, whilst going through the SU-85B, that you somehow get an 85mm from the previous gun, because you did see that gun there, and you were thinking, oh, maybe this will go onto the SU-85B. No. Just no. No. No, unfortunately, you have to start pretty much all over again with this gun, the S76 S54S. 76mm, 14 shots rounds a minute, 125 pen, which isn't bad. And something which I have to say is very interesting is the fact that non-premium shells, just standard AP, do more damage than premium shells. Why don't Wargaming do that? I really think that's a good idea. If Wargaming should do that, I would highly be backing it up. Of course, this thing has shit accuracy and a god-awful aiming time of 2.3 seconds. So naturally, when you get your hands on the D5S, you're hopefully going to receive, you're hoping for more. But unfortunately, there isn't that much benefit. Yes, it is 85 millimeters. Yes, you've got 160 damage, but your rate of fire goes down. Not by much when compared to the S-54, with only 13.33 and the other one being 14.63. But you lose penetration, if we get that gun up again actually, you lose penetration, so 125 to 120. You have even worse accuracy, and you retain the 2.3 aiming time. Now, for some people out there, that might be enough to say, well, I'm not going to get the D5S anyhow, because of that. I'll be honest with you, in combat, it's not easy to use. That granted, if you're in a tier 6 game, you will struggle. But that said, the damage, I suppose, I mean, it's up to you on that one. I'm gonna say it's up to you. Do you want to have penetration and accuracy? Probably it would be better to go for this. Looking in hindsight, I possibly could have stayed with this. It just may mean that it'll take you longer to get this one. But that said, this gun isn't terrible. It's not great, and it's difficult to use, but it's with the damage, I suppose you could say it's worth it, but it's only just worth it, if you know what I mean. So it's up to you on that one. Stick with the accuracy, penetration, and guaranteed damage, or do you go with 160 worth of damage, maybe not as much accuracy and horrible aiming time, but still, it's up to you on that one. Then finally, you get this gun. This is pretty much this is what you kind of expect of the SU-85. This is the thing which probably gives you the satisfaction of this gun. Obviously 85 millimeters, not as much firing rate when compared to the previous gun, 13.33, but you get much better penetration, you get much better damage, your accuracy is much better, and the only thing that is the same, if you will, is the aiming time, a 2.3 second aiming time. But that said, you're using an 85 millimeter gun at tier 5. Most tank destroyers most tanks out there, this is probably a good half, maybe quarter, and if you're facing off anything else like a tank destroyer itself, this is half of its health. And to be honest with you, I think until the German tank destroyer line, I would say this is probably one of the more powerful tank destroyers out there. I've yet to see what the Americans can do, but in the sense of sheer caliber size, this was probably the largest caliber size you will see. And I'm not going to count derp guns, because derp guns, it's not very skillful to use a derp gun. So yeah, in the sense of actual shell types, this thing was probably this was the highest caliber, if you will. Anyway, so let's get back out there. So, now on to equipment recommendations. Now, of course, I might end up selling this tank, so that's why I haven't bothered to get any equipment for it, but if I was going to keep it, I would mount, naturally, a ventilation on the first one. Ventilation is always something that you can use. I know there's a certain skill type which allows you to, in a sense, replace the ventilation, but I'll be honest with you, a ventilation, if you can't be arsed and you want your crew to work better, and also because it helps, extra abilities, extra fast reload times, always a good idea. Naturally, I would also state that you get a medium caliber gun rammer, which is just you know the drill by now, how it goes. It just makes your gun that much better, and to improve that rate of fire of 10 might help, especially when combined with the ventilation shaft. Now, the last one, as I always state, is up to you, but my high recommendations would be a bit of a mix, actually. I mean, obviously, you want to ensure that the enhanced gun laying drive is probably something which would help. Definitely would help. Something which would help you remove that ever so frustrating aiming time. However, I would also highly recommend you get something like coated optics or binocular telescope. Now, of course, binocular telescope only works when your vehicle is stationary for a few seconds, and if you're in the middle of if you've got people moving about in front of you and you have to move, you basically nullify the usage of that. But find yourself in a good position, that thing will be immensely handy. As well as that, but that says with that you probably it expects you to move a fair amount more than you do. So if you're a mobile tank destroyer, then the coated optics will probably be a good idea. Um, Spore I wouldn't say is a recommended high, but I guess if you're having problems with artillery, then of course it's up to you. Never really had an ammo rack problem, and don't forget, guys, this thing only has 350 hit points. So worrying about getting ammo racked in this thing is probably not the first thought you should enter your mind. Camouflage net is possibly a good idea. I mean, I'm not saying I personally don't use them. Obviously, it depends on the kind of tank destroyer you've got, but yeah, that I probably wouldn't be a bad idea. Not a great idea because you've obviously you'd be losing out on the chance of having a better viewing range or better aiming time. But apart from that, really, pretty much on that one. That's yeah, no, it's like a if you have to, if you really want to. But my high recommendations are binocular telescope or coated optics, depending on your playstyle, or enhanced gun laying drive. Those three there are probably the highest recommended. Everything else, like spore liner, ammo rack, probably ammo rack is the least useful. It's just above the toolbox repair. It's that's pretty much on that one. I suppose the next somewhat useful would be the camouflage net, but only if you like to surprise your opponents. For crew skills, well, naturally you want to give your commander something like repairs. Now, giving your commander mentor is a good thing, but when you want to replace a skill for the perk Sixth Sense, getting mentor and then dropping it might make a big difference to your crew, and you'll probably notice a big negative side. So go for something as simple like repairs, and then get Sixth Sense. Your commander also is the radio operator, so maybe what you can do is get yourself repairs, and then once you've got Sixth Sense, change to something like view range, which then can hopefully give you, or recon, depending on how it goes, just general stuff like that. Hopefully you can give your commander a bit of an advantage. It's a bit annoying though, I'll be honest with you, with your commander also being a radio operator, because that means you can't train up the radio operator, or you can't have an extra benefit. So it's a bit annoying, but the best thing to do is get something simple like repairs, drop it for Sixth Sense, get view range, and once you get up to the top, up to you really. You either want to have Eagle Eye, which isn't too bad, or you just want to increase your recon and skill sets. For your gunner, now the thing with the gunner, and I think repairs probably more important because, I mean, I say repairs, I'm sure people probably say camouflage is more important than repairs, but if you're ever tracked and you don't have a repair kit, I always find that to be more of a useful skill. Snapshot, I would suppose to say, is a good idea, but not in the sense of this vehicle, because this vehicle doesn't have a turret. But I might test it at some point. I will let you know if that actually works. But more importantly, get yourself repairs. And once you've gotten the repairs to 100%, swap it out for Deadeye. Then go straight back to repairs. And once you've got to 100% on repairs again, swap it out for designated target. That way, then you can keep your enemy vehicle visible for more than 2 seconds. And afterwards, feel free to train up repairs again. Once that's done, go to either armorer or camouflage, depending on how it goes, sort of thing. For your driver, the most highly recommended skill I would ever state is clutch braking. Clutch braking is probably my new favorite skill of all time. This thing is pretty much on par with Sixth Sense. Clutch braking basically increases your vehicle rotation speed, and especially with certain vehicles such as the tank destroyer, and as such as with this vehicle being at 35 degrees. Second, this helps a lot. Once you've got 100% on that, start training him in repairs, and then swap the skill out for preventative maintenance. Even though I've not had much issue with fire, it is always something to have on your tank, regardless of whether you have fire issues or not. Because at some point in your tank's lifetime, if you should so wish to keep it, you will inevitably have to use that. Or your tank will inevitably be set alight. So to have that on standby is always a good idea. Afterwards, train him in off-road driving. I suppose smooth ride is not a bad idea, but probably after off-road driving, repairs or camouflage or whatever you haven't trained up at that point. Smooth ride isn't a great idea because you're not really going to be driving and shooting on the move, but if you have to, it's always something to be used if you have trained your vehicle crew up to that kind of standard. For your loader, repairs to 100%, then once you've got that, swap it out for safe stowage, then return it back to repairs. Once again, like fires, as much as you don't have issue with ammo racking, it is always important to have some kind of skill or perk just in case something should occur, like you get shot in the side and your ammo rack takes a hit. Possibly it might just stop, possibly it doesn't, possibly it stops the ammo rack going off altogether, or it could just make sure that the thing doesn't detonate your vehicle, so it's always a good idea to keep that in mind. So, with that said, let's get into the field of battle. And we're back, and we are in actually quite favourable tiering. So yeah, this is the kind of best tiering that you'll find yourselves in. Not too far from the top, but still, don't forget, you've got an 85mm gun, so you'll most certainly be able to make an effect. I'll be able to pen most, if not... Actually, no, I'll be able to pen all of these things. Maybe, except... Hang on, what's the gun? What's the top penetration? Yeah, keep forgetting about that. I keep thinking it's that for some reason. That's the penetration on the standard shell. But I think that's because I keep confusing it with the new flak buses thing. So yeah, I haven't been on this map in months, in actual months, and I love it. It's one of my favourite maps, really, of this game. It's really annoying, though, that the game, they decided to change it so that only anything up to tier 6 can drive this thing. And that's what you shouldn't do. That is what you shouldn't do. And I was about to make that sodding mistake. I keep forgetting that. It's just like, oh, I'll be okay, I'll be fine. Bang. No, it wasn't. But yeah, that's what you don't want to do. Going up to the top expecting the enemy just to stand there and wait for you to shoot them is not the best ideas. So this requires a little bit of camping. Bang! Oh, seriously? A ricochet. And shoots there. Bang! Right. Ever so slight target now. I shoot and he dies. I was like, what the fuck? Okay, KV-1 is out on the other. How the hell did you get him? Good shot, Mr. DW2. Right, the enemy is pushing now. So we need to move up and knock out that M7. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Ah. You see, there is this low gun depression here. If you can see, most of my armor is actually exposed. Like the frontal half of my armor is actually exposed more than if they're my actual gun. So I actually have to expose more than half of my tank before I can actually get a guaranteed shot at someone. If I shoot him, bang, that's good. Just focus on him because he's not moving. And then we can focus on him. Bang, there's a kill. T-34 is making a getaway. Can I get a shot in? Yes! Got him. Lucky shot, but regardless, worth it. Fire! Yeah, the SU-85 is a good bane of the... pop it, bang. The SU-85 is a good bane of the KV-1s because, obviously, a lot of health. They're the only other tier 5 to have an 85mm gun, or at least a heavy. So, ooh, hello. That's a ricochet. Rare one at that, and he bounced off the front of my... Wow, that was impressive. Yes, enemy SU-85. Now, if I'm not careful, I might get shot in the rear. He's got the derp gun. Once again, people resorting to bigger caliber to sort their battles out for them. Right, our scumbag is being a scumbag, so I've got to withdraw now. Being a bit too brave. The Hetzer and the T-82 should be a little bit more aggressive, or is our Hetzer an AFKer? Well, unfortunately, I think he is. So, unfortunately, we're going to have to withdraw a bit on that fight, but I'm sure we can get them back at some point. We are equal for kills, but right now the Churchill 1 needs support. Our DW2 needs to kind of do something. Probably just go over, just send him over there. Ah, right, the Hetzers are moving now, which is important. Now I need to just get onto that rear side of him. Oh, actually, no. Can I get a rear shot? Yes, I can. Chiha. Right, see if I can get a shot at this Chiha, because the Chiha is actually a surprisingly good tank. It's one of those tier 3 tanks which you wouldn't expect to do well, it turns out, Mr. M2 Medium has a thing for me, evidently so. Can I get a shot in? No, I can't, so don't tempt him. Withdraw slowly. Don't make yourself a target for artillery. Right, he's been taken care of, so now I can move up and take care of this M2 Medium. And then, oh, scumbag gonna scum. Right, take your time, take your time, take your time. Run, 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 run. Artillery is determined. Ooh, shit. Right, where are you? Hello. That was a very weird miss. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Right, there you go. Oh, here's a SU-85 as well. Right, cool. Well, we just knocked out their other SU-85. I thought it was an SU-85B for some reason. I'm mad. Anyway. Oh, hello. I can't actually go over the top. Can I not ever go over the top? No, I can. Ow. This Sexton player is really determined to get me. But as you can see, whereas the Churchill can actually shoot at the T-Mate A1 target, I can't, which is a real shame. Because, I don't know, that's one of the other disadvantages I have of this thing, is its low gun. Its positioning of its gun is very low. I mean, it's not so low that you can't work with it, but you'll find yourself in more difficult circumstances with regards to that. Well, there's that scumbag. Oh, bollocks, he's all that far away. Oh, Mr. Marder 3's being all brave. Right, I'm going to try and see if I can hunt that scumbag down. And the Marder 3 has just got himself a nice kill, and boom! I didn't clutch that. Almost. Right, okay, I'm going to have to be extra careful now, because obviously artillery can find me and shoot me, and boom. Oh, are you fucking kidding me? Critical hit on a sodding artillery. Ah. Well, that said, it's not a bad thing. I mean, I did a critical hit, and we got 3,000 experience. Ah, that's brilliant. Yeah, so we did a fair amount of stuff. Let's have a look at the KV-1. What did we do? Well, we buggered his fuel tank and knocked his track out. I buggered that tank's engine and knocked his track in. I knocked his track out, of course. The Hetzer knocked the fuel tank, and I also did some damage to the track of the Sexton. For God's sake! I actually knocked out the Chihaz commander as well. Pardon me. So, that's pretty good. We did the most damage. Got the most experience as well, which is quite nice. What was that one? I got Confederate. I got a Confederate and a sniper, didn't I? Yeah, that's the Confederate, and that's a sniper, which is quite nice. And 3,000 experience just doubled. So, that's quite nice. That'll definitely help towards going towards the SU-100, because that'll be the next one in the line. So, on to the next battle. I'll see you there. And we're back. And we're actually in less favourable tiering. This is a tier 6 game, so things will be interesting. Now, here is what... that's a bit weird. Oh, well. Anyway. Artie loves you. Love you. Oh, scumbag. Well, at least he's on our team. Anyway. So, yeah. Normally, I don't like to camp on that position. I'm not much for camping. Like, if I'm in a position, say, for example, in other games, I don't know, it's hard to say. In other games, I can camp, but that said, also, it's not really camping if you're doing a good job. Because I don't camp and just stand still. I actually camp and move around a particular certain spot. But anyway, I digress. So we're on Kampanovka. Someone, unfortunately, artillery has destroyed two. In fact, we've lost both of our flak panzers, which sucks badly. Someone actually has been crazy enough to move to the other side of that. I am impressed that he hasn't been shot yet. But that said, he can prove to be quite a useful annoyance, and he actually has done a good job, so kudos to that man. Because also now, and Rexasaur, stop interrupting the video, I need to see the map, thank you. Now because, oh geez, that is useful. That is actually really useful, because now we've got an advantage in kills. Not by much, I'll admit, but enough, perhaps. Perhaps enough. And don't forget, we've got these guys over here. Artillery is going to have a field day now, because it could be any one of those vehicles. So So for as long as we can... Oh, brilliant. We'll take advantage of this. Yeah, like I was saying though about the speed though, going on to the speed of this thing. This thing isn't too bad, to be honest with you. That's an upgraded VK, the flak bus. Like I said, this thing isn't like the fastest of accelerators. Like, she won't go ridiculously fast, very quickly. But at the same time, she can achieve quite high speeds. And let's support this. Right, this is how pretty much, this is the kind of ideal circumstance for the SU-85 to be in. Long-range engagements, because of your high caliber, you can engage targets, and the ability for you to be not engaged as well. So for the enemy to receive your shots and for them not to be able to shoot back at you is kind of the most. In any circumstance, that's perfect, but for the SU-85, that's even better. So just going to mark that guy for artillery, and I'm going to start pummeling my shells into him. Bang! I am probably been spotted right now, but one more shot, draw, and nip back in again. Fire! Right, so we've knocked out there. Oh, we need someone to advance, really, someone scout. We're winning, but the problem is that there he is. Oh, fucking scumbag. Yeah, he's got the gun. He had the gun. Ooh, shit. Right, whenever you've been shot at by artillery, take the weird approach. And also, constantly press the back button whenever you're going down a hill. Right, and shoot there. Bang, he's gone. We are about to lose our top-tiering vehicle, but that said, we have just kicked ass, took names, and shoot some bubblegum. Yeah, they're all in defensive positions now. There is their scumbag artillery. Thank you very much, Mr. T-34. I will enjoy shooting at him. There is a Nashorn as well, so I will have to... I'll concentrate fire on the Nashorn, because I can actually pen him as well. Huzzah! Huzzah! Why the fuck did you miss, gun? Huzzah! Huzzah! Let me shoot this brick now. Bang! I must have hit him. I must have hit him. There he is. How the hell did I not hit him? Schütze! You know that thing about shooting people, that you actually hit them? Oh, fuck it. Right. That is ridiculous. I fucking shot that prick. Anyway, can I shoot him? For the love of God, let me shoot him. Bang! Thank you. Well done, Panzer IV. Well done. Well done, Pizzo. Well done, mate. Kudos to you. You have my respect. Hello. Bang. Ah, last our T-34-85. T-34 couldn't survive, but... Boom! He didn't either. 4 kills again. Huzzah! 2 good games. Well done, Panzer 3-4, though. Thank you, mate. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have survived. So, knocked his track out. Stug, I destroyed his engine, of course. Whenever you shoot the Stug in the front, like under Glacius, yeah, kudos to that man. What did he get? He got patrol duty. Kudos to him. But yeah, so yeah, 1,000 experience undoubled, which is quite nice. He actually did the least amount of damage in the game. Actually, nope, the Panzersiffel died. But that said, he did get nuked by artillery. But no, that was a very good game. And yeah, that's a very good tank as well. That was a very good game. And two good games in 2 different scenarios. Mind, this is 2 different games, but still. So there you go. Summary time. Hey, hey. Yes. So the SU-85 is a specialized tank. She's not as fast or as maneuverable. Well, she's fast at going downhill. She's not as maneuverable as your previous counterpart. But that said, her caliber of the gun caliber in her, the top gun with her is more than suitable for engagements at tiers, for, to tier 6 to from tier 6. Unfortunately, on occasion, I don't know if it's as common now, but on occasion, I have been placed into tier 7 matches. This is very bad, but that's only in very bad case of tiering. The worst part of tiering, probably going to be tier 6. But for tier 5 games, you're not going to be on top of the leaderboard. You're not going to be on top of the tiering board with no one being able to destroy you. You are still a very easy thing to kill, so be aware of that when you're using this gun. Remember to not use your view range because it's crap. Get your radio up once you've, in any form of manner. Getting a radio probably would help a lot more for me, but, I reckon afterwards I'm probably going to end up buying the radio and people go, oh, for God's sake, it's so much easier. But anyhows, just be aware of your view range. Make sure you use your signal range. Keep in supporting action. If you can, try and find a distance from your opponent. And like you saw in that last game, things like that will happen. Anyway, that's it for this review. My review of this thing is it's a great tank and that... if you can ever spare the time to get it or go up the Russian tech tree, you will not be disappointed with this vehicle. So, that's about it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this kind of content, feel free to let me know by clicking on the like button, typing in the comment section down below, and of course, subscribing to the channel. That's about it, guys. This is Crap Hunter signing out. I'll catch you next time.